It's not almost unprecedented, Piers. It is unprecedented for two members of the royal family deliberately to set out to hurt, harm, belittle, besmirch the monarch and the wife of the heir to the throne. That's unprecedented. Of course it's damaging, but of course the damaging action comes out of damaged people. The question is, I think, just what's the best way to do it? And I think myself, the best way to deal with it is not to give them the oxygen of even more entitlement to the claim of being victims. OK, Rachel Johnson, your view.
Well, Sir Anthony, as ever, as an eminent historian, has put the argument for killing with kindness. And don't give the grifters any more grist to the mill.
But the grifters make most of their money because they have royal titles.
Of course they do.
The American business model collapses if they're just plain Harry and Meghan. Not immediately, but it would over time. If they can't slap all over all their correspondence that they're the Duke and Duchess, it disappears.
Possibly, that remains to be seen. We do not know that. It could definitely give them another leg on their, grievance tour. I want to know, Bob Seeley, who is the liege man of life and limb, who's, withdrawn the flaming scabbard to defend the monarchy. And he's inserted this bill, this private members bill, which is called something like the Disinheritance of Titles Bill 1917. It must be in your notes.
Yeah.
So my question is...
just to be clear, it's been used before to remove the titles of His Royal Highness Charles Edward, Duke of Albany, Earl of Clarence, Baron Arklow, His Royal Highness Ernest Augustus, the Duke of Cumberland, and Teviot Dale, and Earl of Armagh, and so on. This has been used a lot.
But wasn't it mainly used to strip Germans of their titles in 1917? But the curious irony is, if you took the title Duke of Sussex away from Prince Harry, he'd be Harry Mountbatten, which is a German surname. Anyway, so I'm sure he wouldn't like it. I think, so the question is, who has the right to strip these royals of their titles? Is it the House of Commons or is it the Queen? If she took away Princess Diana's HRH, which caused Princess Diana... Which
I campaigned for her not to do, by the way.
Huge upset and hurt. That was a terrible wound for Princess Diana. This would no doubt be a terrible wound for Harry and Meghan, because the royals, their titles is who they are.
But the difference about Diana was she never attacked the monarchy. She had her issues with her ex-husband. But I campaigned at the Mirror to stop her HRH being taken away, because I knew how much it hurt her, because she told me. And because it was only taken away because she was deemed to no longer be married to Charles, right? But she didn't attack the monarchy, Paula. And here's the difference between what Diana used to do and what these two are doing. It's their deliberate diminishing and the relentless attacks on the family and the monarchy that I really find offensive now. And I don't understand why, if you're going to attack the institution this much and you hate the family this much, why would you want to, A, stay a member of that family, or B, keep titles bestowed on you by the monarchy and the family?
I appreciate that you find it personally offensive, Piers, but shall I tell you what I find concerning? That in this discussion about racism, we know that the institution has issues. We know that in 2021, we were supposed to see the appointment of a diversity czar, and I'm still waiting for that appointment.
What is a diversity czar?
Well, we can discuss that another day. Let me finish.
Title,
well, Piers, this is important. The
royal family employ a lot more non-white people
you don't want to hear it, Piers,
hang on.
Do you?
It's a fact that they employ a lot more non-white people than they used to. Right? It's also a fact they remain exclusively white, other than the Meghan Markle part of it, because they were a white family.
Piers, don't shut me down on this point, because this is important for us to discuss.
You're distracting away from the alleged racism in this story. Trevor Phillips, who ran the big...
Do you see what's happening here?
No, I'm asking you a question about this particular topic.
I haven't finished answering your first question.
You're talking about other things.
I'm not talking about other things. I'm talking about exactly what you're referencing, the allegation of racism, and why it's important for society as a whole, for us to see that the institution is dealing with this. And I'm saying to you, where is the diversity czar?
What racism?
Where is the diversity czar that we were told was going to be appointed in 2021? We were told that this was such an important thing and that it was going to happen.
Where's the racism,
because
Paula?
of the concern.
Paula, Where is the racism?
The concerns that Meghan had. That's what was
What
reported.
concerns?
Secondly,
she didn't even hear it.
We've also
she didn't even hear it.
reports.
And by the way, she thought it happened when she was pregnant. Harry said it happened before they got engaged.
Shouting me down is not going to change the fact that I'm concerned. So we also have reports, don't we, about issues in relation to how the institution approaches the concerns about racism.
What racism?
We've had unfortunate stories where I accept there was an apology, but it left a concern, didn't it, when, for example, Princess Michael attended the dinner wearing her brooch that caused upset.
Do you honestly believe that Charles and Kate were racist about that baby's skin colour?
We know about the issue in relation to how Lady Hussey and how that was dealt with. And what I'm saying to you is that there are concerns that have been raised. And it seems,
we know about the concerns that were raised. What I haven't seen is any evidence.
We want to deflect those concerns by pouring hatred on Harry and Meghan.
No, they're the ones.
That's what this is about. This is about hatred of Harry and Meghan.
How could you pour more hatred over people than these two, who for 4 years have poured hatred on their family and the monarchy, and who did it by sparking a racism row on Oprah Winfrey in front of 50 million people, where they made allegations of racism and then tried to pretend they hadn't. They've never produced any evidence. I mean, Kevin, this is my issue with this whole thing, and it does incense me that we are trying to deal with a story which at the heart of it, I don't think there's even a story. I don't think this ever happened. As Trevor Phillips said, at worst, what we may be dealing with is that someone in the royal family, Charles, Kate, whoever, may have said, I wonder what colour the baby might be. That's not racism.
No.
When you have a mixed race relationship, it's what every mixed race relationship family would ask themselves.
Why do we keep leaving out the word concerns? Why do we keep leaving that word out?
Because what are the concerns?
I read Trevor Phillips' account, because he's a black Briton who's long campaigned against racism. There are problems with the institution, but Meghan Markle's evidence wouldn't stand up in court because it was hearsay. It's something she said.
Racism allegations often don't.
No, but it's hearsay. She hasn't heard it directly. But of course they should be stripped of those titles. And I think Harry's grandmother, the Queen, made a mistake not taking them away. I think his father, Charles, now the King, has made a mistake not taking them away. They said they wanted to start a new life.
Yeah.
But that new life actually requires them to have those titles.
Correct.
Because their meal ticket is trashing the royal family.
I'm intrigued that the failure wasn't in about talking. The failure wasn't in about resolving the problem.
What I love is that you still
failure.
Believe there was racism. When even Trevor Phillips said it's obviously not.
Be very careful. I have never said that I could believe it because I don't know.
Right.
So we need to be very careful.
You don't think it should be incumbent on those who made the allegations to actually say what happened? Why are they silent in the last week?
I think what's intriguing is that you have asked them to be silent for so long, and now you are demanding that they speak. If they do
I'm demanding that they clarify why their author, the boy they cooperated with on the last book, why he's able to name Harry's father, right, and his sister-in-law as two racists, and they say nothing. They say nothing.
Do you think that if you continue to shout me down...
I think you've got to answer some questions, Paula. At some stage, you literally are behaving like a politician.
If you allowed me to. If you allowed me to. The fact is, should they respond to this? Absolutely they should respond to this. Should King Charles and Kate have an opportunity to respond to it? Absolutely. Do you know what I would like to see in terms of a response? I would like to see a joint response. I would like them to come together and send out a joint response.
They don't talk to each other.
Well, then they need to find somebody who does.
Then
they need to find somebody who does, because this isn't unusual, Piers. The fact that this is a fallout in a family is not unusual.
Meghan Markle,
yes, racial.
Kevin wants them to be stripped of their titles. Bob Seeley wants them to be stripped of their titles.
I want them to be stripped of their titles.
The fact remains that you could strip them of the title Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but you cannot remove the fact that he is a prince of the blood.
You can stop calling him a prince.
You
can stop calling him a title.
No, I don't think you can.
And there have been a lot of ex-military saying that's how we view it. There was absolutely no reason to disclose it. You might have tried to couch it in sort of a self-revelatory, like I'm reflecting on my time, but we all see it as what we think it is, which is a brag. And so they're entitled to their opinion. Too bad Harry wants to control everybody's thoughts and feelings and statements, not just ours, but even former military who were offended by the statement. Like, it's what's dangerous is how you reacted to it, not what I actually said. But here's how he's now trying to spin it. This is so absurd. He says The reason he chose to write about his kill count was to reduce the number of suicides among military veterans. I made a choice to share it because, having spent nearly 2 decades working with veterans around the world, I think the most important thing is to be honest and to give space to others to share their experiences without any shame. Well, Colonel Kemp, who commanded Operation Fingal in Afghanistan in 2003, told the Mail Online he did not think that revealing the number would help any healing journey, and that it's given the Taliban more fuel for propaganda. Of course, here he is again. He's so altruistic, Dan. He's such a stallion. That's his own word in his book. He's such a stallion. And so, but he can't take credit for it. Even this was just to help others. It wasn't to make him look like a tough guy.
Oh, no, indeed. And he doesn't make any mistakes ever. But actually, what's so disturbing is when you really dig down into the campaign going on here, what Harry wants is the free British press to be controlled, to be limited. Yep. He's actually calling, and he laughs in the face of his father at one point, King Charles, when he says to him, look, dear boy, it's impossible for the institution to control the media. And Harry laughs in his face. He is living in a world where he genuinely believes that the British royal family should be able to control what someone like me as a British citizen can write and publish or broadcast. And so Harry thought that it was absolutely fine for him to include all of this information in his book, which we remember he's making millions and millions of dollars for, but it wasn't right for the British press to report on the ramifications of him making this comment. And so I would put it back to Harry, the Duke of Sussex, that you're the dangerous one. You're the dangerous one because you want a British society where there is no freedom of the press. And remember, Meghan, we don't have the constitutional protection here in the UK that journalists and broadcasters like you have in the US. So I actually think what he's calling for is chilling.
Yeah, he called the First Amendment bonkers that we luckily have over here. He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't believe in the principle of free speech or the free press, here or there. And this is embodied in his attack. I mean, what a pathetic soul. He attacks you in his book for what? For publishing some viciously untrue story that turned out to embarrass you. No, that did not happen. You broke Mexit. And he's mad. He's mad you didn't sit back. By the way, I read in your piece on the Daily Mail, you gave them a week's notice to respond, to weigh in. It's not like you just ran to the presses with this, but you were right in any event. You could have done that. He's mad you broke it, that you didn't let him break it. Well, hello. That's not how the media works. And for this, you get labeled a sad little man. A sad little man. Go ahead, sad little man. For doing your job, something that's actually really important to both his country and ours.
I know. He actually calls me a sad little man, I think, 3 times. It's always these sort of be kind woke lefties, isn't it, Meghan, who love throwing the personal insult at the people who they don't agree with politically, which is what I think this is really about. But actually, when it came to the Megxit story, and that wasn't the only big story I broke about Harry and Meghan, but I guess it was the culmination of a whole load of previous scoops, he was so angry that I had this information and that I was about to break the story, that he actually reveals in the book that he called up his grandmother, the Queen. He bothered the Queen about my story and says, look, Gran, the Sun has this story, so I'm going to have to scoop them and release my own statement about it. She says, all right, be careful. And he in the end decides actually can't put the statement together fast enough. So he's going to let the sad little man, me, publish the story, which I do. But what he has done, and this is not surprising, Meghan, because the book is littered with provably untrue claims. And this is one of them. He claims that the reason that I published the story so quickly is that I was working in concert with Buckingham Palace, that we were somehow conspiring on this story together. Well, I can tell you right now that's completely not true. I had gone to Harry's own communications secretary 7 days before publishing the story. I had had numerous conversations with her. I knew because she told me that she was speaking directly with Harry and Meghan about my story and that they were meeting with her at Frogmore Cottage the moment that they landed from Canada. I even included within the story briefing. You know, briefing, the thing that Harry says is like evil and is so bad that he should end his relationship with his father and his stepmother and his brother. Well, guess who was providing the briefing to me on that story? Him, his own communications secretary. And I'll tell you what the briefing was. And by the way, I don't usually talk about this stuff because actually people don't really need to know about how the sausage is made. And I actually also believe it's incredibly important. It's something I would go to jail to do, protecting sources. But in this case, I'm not claiming that Harry and Meghan were the source of the story. What I'm saying is I got the story myself, but then I was doing my job as a journalist. I wanted to provide both sides of the story. So they briefed me. And the briefing that they gave me on the story was that the reason they were so angry about the royal family is that the Queen had released a picture over the Christmas period, because remember, they had snubbed the Queen. They hadn't wanted to be with her for one of her final Christmases. They had instead spent it in Canada. And she had released a picture of the Queen, Charles, William, and George. And Harry was so furious about this, he took it as a slight, and he thought it was a sign from the monarch that she was saying to Harry and Meghan, you're not going to be a part of the monarchy in the future. And that was one of the reasons that they were so angry and that they started to speed up, I guess you would say, the discussions about Megxit.
If you're like me, you're growing more and more concerned about the future. The market's all over the place. Inflation, highest level in 40 years. Interest rates up. Market experts predicting recession. And using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. Now, if you want to protect your future, you've got to call the precious metal dealer of record, American Hartford Gold. They can show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door, or even easier, inside your IRA or 401k. And they keep it simple. This is the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. And now, as an exclusive offer for my fans, if you call them now, they're going to give you up to $1,500 of free silver and a free safe too on qualifying orders. So don't wait, call them up now. Call 866-518-2955. That's 866-518-2955, or just text Megan, MEGYN, to 65532. Again, that's 866-518-2955,